one of the things that I had shared recently in a Think podcast was words. I had spoken about words and how words tend to change meaning over time, and not owning some level of proficiency or mastery over those words can get you jammed up because people can use them to jam you up. But the thing is, that's a level, right? Everything is about levels. In this coming season, I want you all to be a little bit more sensitive to symbols, and the value of them. Because the thing about words change over time, but symbols don't. Symbols don't change. And that's why we'll say the parasitic elite. The parasitic elite always use symbols more than words because they have an agenda. And sometimes those agendas are like, they know these agendas. This is a 600-year-long agenda. Like when the Knights Templar, when they began, they knew eventually we're going to have to be the Freemasons. But we'll start off as the Knights Templar, right? But we can't do this forever. We're going to have to turn into something else. When they created the place that we know as Portugal, they knew like, okay, this will start one way, but it really was the port of the Grail, because the Knights Templar were the ones who said they were in possession of the Holy Grail. So they created this place called Port of the Grail, which eventually became Portugal, right? But they knew, like, we can't call it Port of the Grail forever, because then everyone's going to rush in looking for the Holy Grail. So eventually it'll be Portugal, and there'll be an expansion from there. And we can't be the Knights Templar forever. We have to be something else, So the symbols of these experiences didn't change. You can look at these. You can look at the coat of arms of the Knights Templar and see things that are relevant today. But you might listen to some of the words that they may say, and it's a little bit difficult for it to hit home. So paying attention to symbols in this season is going to be critical, because it's going to be experiences coming forth that you'll only understand if you understand the symbols. That's why they use them, because they know people get distracted by words. No different than how, like, a real Christian, they get distracted by a fake Christian. That's the goal, right? Because how do you keep the darkness back? You have to maintain light. But those who may have the light have to be constantly put into a state of confusion. One of the things that I ask, like, what are you working on, is because if you notice, a lot of times we're never distracted by spiritual things, right? The distractions that usually come are like Taraji P. Henson whining like a little baby because she should have got 3 million when she got 1 million. But that becomes the distraction. Never like, and no one is saying, well, why don't you build your own thing? Because you're still crying to your slave masters for money. And you cry about a movie that shouldn't have even been created again. A dishonorable, wicked film. So the symbols are becoming more critical. Like one of the symbols you're going to have to pay a lot of attention to now that you're going to see more of is the sun. Real simple, the sun. That's one of like the simplest ones that are always used in what we call occultism, because the sun represents the ascension of the initiate, right? So just like when you look on the back of your dollar, you have the pyramids with the 13 levels, 72 bricks, and at the top of it is the sun. And they tell you that the sun represents the founding fathers overlooking the republic, like loving and caring people, even though the sun and the pyramid wasn't added until 1933. So that doesn't really make sense, so they're lying about that one. But the eye over the pyramid represents the battle between Heru and Set. That's what that is. Because you remember when Heru and Set, or Horus and Set, I don't know, when they went to war against each other, Heru or Horus lost his eye. So that's the eye that they're representing it as. And it's the battle of light and dark going at each other. And so the 13 steps represent each step an initiate goes through, and then when they go through these different steps, they're going to lose one of their eyes. Not that they're going to gain insight, they're going to lose sight, because the key is about darkness becoming stronger. So when you understand symbols, you understand that, like, there's people who have committed themselves to the kingdom of lower order Elohim. Period. It's no different than like the movie The Matrix, when Cypher was like, I know this isn't a real state, but I'm going to eat it anyway. Like, I know what you're giving me is lower order. I know it's fake, but I want this now. To get all of that way off, pie in the sky, things to get better and abide by. Give me what's good right now. So you have people who have committed themselves in their bloodlines to, this is what we're going to do. And yeah, we do know that something stronger and more powerful is going to come out of the sky one day, but we want it. And it's hard to imagine that. It's always hard to believe that, because you would never, if someone really revealed the real agenda to you, you just wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't be like, there's no way someone could be that evil. Like, there's no way someone could be that wicked. But when you understand, like, the Antichrist as a symbol, the first mission of the Antichrist is always death, kill, death. So when you're dealing with like a cultic and underworld family, their mission is always war, because war is death. So it's always like, get the war popping, get the war popping. War is an act of the occult. Because we got to get some sacrifices happening. We got to get some killing going. You see, so we're going to bring them down into the Valley of Kings. That's another lesson at another time. But whenever you see death pushed, in whatever form, so the symbols are still there, the metaphors are still there, and the metaphors and the symbols will live on, even if the words change a bit. But we get distracted by things of the world, but we're never distracted by things of the spirit, because those things are not given to you. When you start to understand that, you're going to have to pay attention to the symbols, because the symbols are like, they're like a symbol, like a starter pistol to set it off. They send out a notice to everyone. When you look at even situations like the presidency of the United States, all the presidents have been related. And the one that wasn't related, that didn't share the blood, was Kennedy, and they killed him. And when they killed him, they lit a torch in Arlington. It's lit to this day. And you got to understand what the torch means, right? So just like the Statue of Liberty's torch, when Princess Diana was killed, they lit a torch for her as well. But they don't do that for every president. You would think that with any great president, quote unquote, falls, there should be a torch lit. They only light a torch for the traitors, to let each other know, we did this. You see, we did this. So even when you look at the grassy knoll where Kennedy was killed at, that area is actually shaped like a pyramid. And if you look at where the torch is, it's at the top of the pyramid. Well, that's the same thing you have on the back of your dollar bill, right? But if you didn't know that, like if you didn't know it's symbols and not words, you wouldn't realize what you're looking at when you're looking at a dollar, or when you're like, oh, he got assassinated there and they lit a torch there. Or if you didn't know the story of Prometheus, which was they infused that Prometheus story into the Jesus story. The one who goes and gets wisdom from the gods and brings it to humans. But is now considered to be like a traitor. Well, that's the same thing Kennedy was getting ready to do. He was getting ready. Remember his last speech, he spoke about exposing these underworld and occult entities. So he was actually about to talk about the Illuminati, and they said, "All right, well, we're gonna have to pop you because you ain't related to it. You ain't blood anyway." Like that's what we get for letting, and outsider in. We tried to let you in, and you acted a fool. So we got to get rid of you. You know. So understanding the symbols is going to be more key than understanding the words. That's the internal secret to it. Words are okay. I mean, you can pay. Don't pay too much attention to them. You know, because the words are just for lower level organizations. Like for instance, with the Taraji situation, Oprah put a post up on her social media, and Taraji responded talking about how Oprah was a beacon of light. As soon as you saw a beacon of light, you already knew, Oprah's goons rolled up on her. It was like, yo, don't forget I am Illuminati. Like, don't forget what this is, you know. And she was like, she's a beacon of light. And then Oprah, they were doing an interview, and she was talking about light. Light. It's no different than when George Bush Sr. was like, I see 1,000 points of light and a new order coming to the world. You see? So we can listen to the words, but you got to pay attention to the symbols, right? So, like for instance, on the back of the bill, there's something that says "No Novus Ordo Seclorum," and they tell you it means out of one comes many, or out of darkness comes light. But if you really actually break down what it means in the Latin, it means out of chaos comes order. That's the most important symbol of it all, right? Out of chaos comes order. Like the old Star Wars movies, they represented Nazis, and you know, like the Empire, they represented the Nazis, and the Jedi's represented, you know, like um kind of this free spiritness. And the whole thing about the dark side, they were always trying to bring order to the universe. You see, anytime you see order, you see light, you see darkness. It's speaking about we first have to create mad chaos. We got to create mad chaos to bring forth our Antichrist, who's going to bring order. They're going to represent the order to all the chaos that we created. We have to show the chaotic nature. But part of the reason is because you're looking to demons. You're looking to demons for spiritual instruction. All these mega pastors and so they're demons. They have already taken the oath, you know. So certain things that may get revealed about them, but the things that are revealed are not even revealed because it's like, yeah, that's God moving. No, those things are being revealed to show more chaos and just to create more confusion. Because now through all this confusion, all these people are going to get exposed. There's going to come one righteous pastor or Christian or something, and they're going to come forth and they're going to organize the church world under one system. You see, one world order, a new world order. You see, it's no different than what's happening with the money. The money ain't worth nothing. There's so many countries now like I don't want nothing to do with the dollar. So we're going to have to come up with a new currency, one world currency, or like all the surveillance that you've grown completely comfortable with. Right? You know your phone is watching you. You know your tablet's watching you. You know your laptop's watching you. You know your TV's watching you. You see, and then you think you slick because you take a piece of tape and you cover the camera on your laptop. But you never imagine that there could be a camera behind the LED screen. The whole entire screen is a camera. So you didn't realize that part. So then you might look at your TV and say, well, what is it? Could there be a camera actually behind the screen? Yeah, absolutely. So that was 20 years ago they were doing that, you know, putting cameras behind screens. So yeah, but you're comfortable with everything watching you now. You're completely comfortable with it. All right. So you'll be comfortable with getting chipped as well. Because it makes things easier. You go through self-checkout, you check yourself out, but you still pay more for the groceries. You would think you would pay less if I'm checking it out myself. I'm doing the whole thing myself. I had to go get them. I gotta turn them and scan them. Then I gotta pack them into my bag, and you still charge me more. You see, so all of those different things you become comfortable with, and those are symbols now of what's getting ready to occur. So, like I said, in the coming season, you want to pay more attention to the symbols and most importantly, the names you're not hearing. I know we often hear names like Rothschild and Rockefeller and things. In Rockefeller Center, there's a statue of Prometheus. They worship Prometheus. That family worships Prometheus. But consider it like this: how many times have you heard the name Rothschild on the news? Never. That should tell you something right there. Because these 13 families that run the world, 13 richest families, they control and own the news outlet. So, would you put your name in the news? Right. So they'll let you know now the ones that you're hearing ain't it. And the ones that you're not hearing, you'll never hear. So you'll hear about Trump and Obama and Biden and Kamala Harris. You'll hear about them all day, which should tell you something right there. It ain't them, right? Because we know it couldn't be them because if all the presidents have been related to each other by blood, then that means they're selected. It means you didn't elect them. Again, with the exception of Kennedy, who got popped in the back of his head for being naughty, you know. So pay attention to the symbols of things, man, and pay close attention to groups like the Rosicrucians. Pay close attention, or I shouldn't say close attention, but include into your study Rosicrucians, the United Nations or the League of Nations. Include into your study the Knights Templar, and most importantly, their symbols. Right. You want to pay attention to their symbols, even the symbols that are related to the Bohemian Grove, the symbols that are related to Molech. Even if you get now you can do things and use like Google Maps. Who knows if you're getting a real image? But look at the overhead images around the Capitol building, and just see if you could pick up on things. I'm not going to tell you what you should see, but not the I'm sorry, the Congress building, and just try to look at the design and the formation and the shapes of the streets and see if you start noticing something similar. Like I already gave you the one when Kennedy was shot. That's shaped like a pyramid. That one. So you already know that there's a deliberate design here. And even with these assassinations that occur and where they place even the torches, it's deliberate. The main two torches, like I said, are Princess Diana and President Kennedy. Those are the main ones that they wanted you to know. Yeah, don't F them around. You ain't gonna be telling our secrets. All right, mess around if you want. But those are the things that you want to start paying attention to now, more so than the words that are said. Even the White House, the pentagram shape of the White House is important. You'll see that later when you start looking at it. But the White House was also a house in ancient Kemet as well. So the concept of a White House is, But the symbols is really the time that we're coming into. You're going to see more and more of that put forth. And all the years that you've seen me breaking down movies and things like that, I was teaching you on a low level how to decode. You could use those same exact signs to kind of look at some of the symbols around, like the Smithsonian Museum or the George Washington Monument. Yeah, I follow them. Even the Statue of Liberty. So yeah, those are the things that you just want to pay attention to, and make this year an opportunity to pay attention and to learn some of these emblems, like the CIA emblem is a very interesting one. The logo for NATO, NATO, is also a very interesting one. St. Paul's Cathedral in London has a lot of very interesting symbology and architecture. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you about that. You got to go on your own mission. But it's a time now where things are going to be put right in the middle of your face, which you're not going to you're not going to know what you're looking at because of you're looking for words, you're looking for statements, and not realizing the symbols are being thrown right in front of you. You know, Brotherhood of the Dragon is an important organization that you want to learn about. You know, remember that all of your leaders come out of these, like the Skull and Bones, Adjacent Society, Order of the Fleece, you know, these different organizations, again, Brotherhood of the Dragon, all stemming again from the Knights Templar and breaking off from the Knights Templar and going into different movements, Freemasons, you know, going into different ideas and different movements. But what you're going to find is that what does not change is the symbol. The symbol's going to stay the same. You know, they did do a movie on the Skull and Bones. So there's a bunch of movies on secret society. I mean, Skull and Bones was an actual movie, but if you know what you're looking for and you understand the symbology, you're going to see that it's almost every movie you watch in Hollywood is about a secret society. Even The Lion King. So I just wanted to share that, man. And it's just more of like a PSA, not so much an insight message, but just kind of, you know, preparing you for some of the things that we're going to be dealing with or talking about going forward, and how you need to start to reposition your mind, you know, around what's going to be shared.